we should start. Hello to everybody present here. So this is Ranjini who's speaking to you today. Hope all of you are having a great day. And I take care of I'm working in the compliance team, and I'm also part of the ESG and getting to know ESG much better. So without any further ado, I'm going to start speaking about the agenda for the day. I would request all of you to mute yourselves at this during this session. So we are also recording the meeting to help you view the session after this is over. And before we all leave the webinar, you will be given a short survey. I request all of you to fill the survey and then get back to us. If you have any queries, we will not be able to address you during the session. But once the session is over, you can get back to us or email us anyway, or else type in your questions, and then we will respond back to you over email, or else we'll call and we'll speak to you. Thank you. Okay, along with me, there are two other presenters today. One is Manoharan, who's heading the development for ESG software, and we also have our ESG expert Niranjan along with us today. Okay, before we move on to what today's agenda, I'll just give you a glance of who we are. So as you can see, we've had 21 years of experience, especially in the automotive industry. And we have our offices in the US and EU also, and the APAC. And we are also ISO 9001, 27001 TISAC certified. And there are diverse categories of services that we provide. First, we start with compliance, then engineering, sourcing, and also software. And we also have custom softwares made for our customers. And then we also have product-wise compliance offerings, and compliance software is a huge part of it. And we also provide software as a service, and then services with respect to compliance, and we also host in turnkey solutions. Moving forward to everyone, this is our agenda for the today. So we are going to have insight of what is ESG, and then why are we really discussing about ESG today? And we would go further into is ESG really into the future, or else it's just not going to work out. So we're going to see about what is greenwashing and is ESG just a fad, and who's actually regulating all the ESG policies. Then we will come on to what should we do over next, and then what should we really be anticipating in the future. And then I would hand over the session to my colleague Manoharan, who will give you a glimpse of a software called EcoGen. So first, we are going to go into what is an ESG. As you all know, ESG comprises of environment, social, and governance standards. And in other words, what ESG means, it's an all-inclusive approach where sustainability goes above and beyond the environmental issues, beyond climate change. And ESG, the jargon is new, but not its origins. Before ESG, all of us were very familiar with corporate social responsibility, which preceded ESG many years back. And ESG slowly began its way into the corporate world through socially responsible investing. And the social responsible investing had a major, there was a major investment trend around the 1960s. But if you see the origins of social responsible investing, it dates back to 18th century, when all of us know Quaker, and Quaker decided not to participate with certain, or else do business with certain individuals who are into slavery. So that was the start of the social responsible in investing. And we should say that CSR has been the predecessor to ESG. And CSR, why CSR is so important and why we call it as a predecessor to ESG is because it is a business model which will ensure that we are socially responsible to those in the society. And but what is the issue with the CSR is it's not definable. Though CSR gives it accountability, we cannot measure what is being done. But ESG, on the other hand, it through ESG we can make the efforts measurable. So ESG plays an important role in actually knowing where we are going. So ESG and CSR broadly come under the umbrella of sustainability development, and so both together go hand in hand. With CSR we get accountability, whereas with the ESG we are able to define the metrics. So we can see about the difference between the CSR and ESG. And so CSR is that, you're providing, like what should your company be interested in, the actions that you do, or is the corporate actions that you're taking, is it are really impacting the environment, whomsoever is impacting, etc. Whereas ESG is more of getting to measure what you're doing in the long run. So we can see the three pillars of ESG listed here. That is the environment, social, and governance. Environment, for example, like it tells you how our company or else as an organization, how we are going to impact the environment. And with respect to social, it could be how our corporate behavior is affecting all those whom we work with, or is a broader part of the society. And then in governance, it comes to how, as a organization, we are handling things internally. How is our organization operating? So these are the three pillars of ESG, as you can see. And with respect to environment, it could be simply like that we are going to limit some harmful gases being dismissed into the environment, and then using renewable resources, and then also reducing waste. Whereas in social, these are just some examples that I'm giving you. And in social, it speaks about how are we driving the organization through supply chains. So are the practices of with those whom we involve in business, are the supply chains really ethical? I mean, do they do due diligence? And then we also have workers' rights, and then also paying fairly, wages fairly to both to all individuals in this community. And in governance, we are going to talk more on the other about who are those involved in the board of directors, and okay, what is the diversity of who's governing the company, and are we really being transparent with the community about what we are doing in our organization. So these are some of the examples of what goes into the three pillars of ESG, and we will move forward. And so with the ESG all said and done, now there are ESG has certain set of standards and frameworks that allow companies to disclose their information. And before we go on to all these detailing of what standards could be used, we really need to identify what is ESG criteria and metrics, and then we have to prioritize and channel those efforts. And there are multiple frameworks which are available for ESG in today's market. So for example, you can see GRI, you can see about TCFD and SASP. So there are these three, as far as we have seen, are the major players in the market. GRI has encompassed almost all the the ESG part of the criteria really well, while TFCD is going to focus really about your climatic changes, etc. So these are some of the list of the frameworks that we are using to report or disclose how our company is actually investing in ESG, or else what is the outcome of ESG, how are we tracking them, and what is going on. So these are some of the standard reporting measures that we are using. And then second, In the next session, we are going to go about what is the reason behind for us to speak of ESG. So the way that we have seen business earlier is like all businesses and organizations want to make a profit their goal, but no, that was once a while ago. But as far as we have known in the last couple of decades, things have changed. Organizations want to do business in a different way. They are seeing things differently, especially after the pandemic season. We have seen a great impact on how corporates have evolved with respect to how they want to do business. And when we say how they want to do business, it's not only about making profits, but also being in a position to contribute positively to the society. And ESG has been instrumental in how we are measuring what a company is doing and how it is impacting, how a business is impacting this community. And so earlier it was used to only measure the risk and identify opportunities, but now ESG is also creating value. That is the reason we are talking about ESG and how it is going to affect businesses. And it is said from Eldman Trust Barometer Special Report that 88% of people who invest in corporate businesses, they will they say that people who invest in ESG or else who prioritize ESG, who prioritize all these standards of how a company can impact your environment, social and governance, all these policies are going to impact together. If they're able to invest more, and they will have a long-term investment return. So this long-term investment return is actually a part of the sustainability development. So that's how ESG factors into this. And ESG, on the other hand, can also provide insights into financial metrics of a company. So what this would do is it will help investors have a better and informed decision. And you can see that according to the Global Sustainability Investment Review report, the most common sustainable investment strategy. When you say about sustainable development, we spoke of how CSR and ESG are within the umbrella of sustainability development, and ESG plays a major role because integration of ESG into your sustainability goals will actually help you in the following ways. One is that you're going to screen out people who are doing non-ethical businesses, and second, and you're going to have a huge corporate engagement, and then you'll also have norms-based screening, and then you will have, as we spoke earlier, we will have a sustainability themed investment. So one of the major ways to go sustainable is to actually is to have ESG as a part of your integrated network. So just moving on to the next slide. So here are certain areas how this integration or else the integration of ESG will actually help you. And this is the reason that we really talk about ESG. One, these are the value creation of ESG. One, it is going to improve your brand value because you're going to be more transparent, and you are into recognizing and making sustainable products or processes. This is going to have a huge impact on your brand value, and this will help customers trust you over time. So ESG is actually saying, if I belong to APA, so I can trust APA because their process is very transparent, and they do all this to impact the society in a very positive way. So I will always want to work with the APA because of all such reasons. So I'm going to build a customer attraction. And then ESG offers us a better way by, like we become resilient during the times of trouble, and the COVID pandemic was one such trouble, and that's what triggered how companies are able to get back on their feet without going through huge losses. And then third, like increase in revenue. And the more you say that you are really ESG friendly, you really want to impact your end customers, and always customers would purchase products or services from you because they can trust you. So obviously you would get a top line in sales also. And then because of the effective practices or else the processes that we follow within the organization, this will also reduce cost over time. So and then it will also help us manage newer regulation. For example, if you want to this is a hypothetical situation where suppose APA wants to open a organization somewhere in Japan, and then because we are ESG certified, this gives people in Japan, for example, their government more reason for us to trust us, and then allow us to have our offices there, and we will also be able to manage regulations more effectively. And then ESG is very key for big corporate businesses because you have a lot of employee satisfaction, because through your we would later see through ESG key metrics, we would be able to see how well we are able to retain our employee, and our employees also a customer in some sense, right? And then we will be able to see how we can attract employees by giving them, we can tell them we don't discriminate, we pay the same wages to everybody. So these are certain areas which people from this millennia like Gen Z and millennials will look forward to when they really want to work for a company. So ESG is creating so much of value with your first with your brand. Then it helps you get through risks much easily. Then you have a greater increase in revenue. It could be a product, it could be a process. And because we follow all sustainable practices overall in the organization, this will definitely reduce the cost over time. And then we would be able to manage and incorporate new regulations more effectively. Then we'll also have high satisfaction rate with our own internal employees. So these are some of the reasons which tie up into why we have to integrate ESG as a part of sustainable development. So the reason we are talking all this is because businesses have changed the way that they look into how they want to do business. We want to have profit in the long run. Nobody wants a short-term profit. And if you want to have a long-term profit, whereas you do not have a negative impact on the society that you are in, or else you want to create a positive impact, be it both on either ends of the spectrum, and you would be able to identify your areas, and you would be able to see how good you're doing in what you're doing. So that is the reason we speak about ESG. And these are some of the figures. People who love figures will be interested in this. And we can see till November 21, there has been, and because of the sense of, because of this of the ESG integration into the companies, it gives us, it has attracted a lot of, investing into this area. And we can see that ESG fund till 2021 November was 649 USD billion, and then across the globe, like 10% of the assets are now invested in ESG, and 2022 figures are not exactly known for now, but so it's expected to surpass 14 trillion USD according to the sources. And then we are going into what is greenwashing. So though ESG has a lot of pros, it also has its cons. I think it's best to always have a balanced view about any new standard that comes into the market, and that's what we have to do with ESG as well. ESG has gained a lot of momentum, especially with the investors, because investors are willing to pour their money in with companies which are ESG certified and rated, which follow ESG practices. Though there has been a lot of traction in this area, as the number says, it is always not positive. So there has been huge criticisms of how ESG plays in the market, because there is also a deception, and there is always a question about that. It's a deception, and it's also how effective is ESG. So this is also very important for companies like us. We have to consider the cons of ESG also, and not only the positive aspects that they bring to our organization because of these reasons. So I would like to say, I mean, like how people are criticizing ESG. As you all know, like Elon Musk, who's world known, the CEO of Tesla. Once he lost his spot with the S&P, he called ESG a scam. See, that is a huge player in the market criticizing ESG, saying that it's just a scam. I'm not going to believe in ESG anymore. So that is a statement that he's given the entire world. And then you can also see in the US that Governor Ron, he also has he has pushed off all ESG practices with respect to funding in the pensioners funding, because for him, he sees that so far all these metrics have not been considered, and this is really anti-woke crusade. Governor DeSantis has he's saying that no, we are not going to consider any ESG metrics because they have not impacted any of our decision. And anytime any ESG ESG's agenda is being pushed into Florida, that's where they die. That's what governor has even reported. So he is being he's criticized the financial institutions and corporate executives because they are saying factors like racism and economic inequality is going to affect what you're doing, and then they are asking them to look into ESG factors when they are going to invest in the pensioners fund. But because of this governor, he criticizes, saying that this has not at all been helpful for them. And if we move forward, we saw about like some of these criticisms we are getting, and then we can see about the effectiveness. So effectiveness in the sense is like we have to also analyze the fact that is ESG really being effective? As suppose I'm an oil corporation, and I own an oil corporation, and then I say I want to go low on carbon, and how is ESG impacting my business? Is it really worth it? So if you see, this is one of the examples that I've provided for its effectiveness. Supposing most of the countries would want to go into low carbon society, thinking about the geopolitical issues that we've been having between Ukraine and Russia. We have most of them have sanctioned Russia, and most of them don't take fuels anymore. We don't import, and so we proceed in the other direction to go from fuel-driven vehicles to electrical vehicles. And it is said that electrical vehicles have been sold it has increased by 50%. So last year it was making 6.6 million electric vehicles, and by 2030s, within a few years, this could exceed 50% of the total automotive sales. So there is if the production is going to increase, and then we can see the impact this is going to have on the automotive aftermarket also. So there is a huge chain here which says that this is going to increase in a substantial rate. But most of us forget one thing, and then to have an electrical vehicle we need a battery, and then to produce this battery there needs to be mining, and because of mining and because of the process that go on there, this will also cause a negative social impact. So yeah, when we say we are going to go green, we are going to have zero carbon emission, we have to also think about the fact, is that practically a reality? So though ESG can be effective, it is not effective in a way that people are showcasing it to us. So none of us can achieve the zero carbon emissions. That is not going to happen based on what we are seeing out here, unless someone comes up with a huge idea of not even using battery and then running vehicles, which we can talk about later. So even in effectiveness, we have to have a balanced view of how ESG is really going to impact. It will impact. We will have positive outcomes. Our emissions will go low, but not in a way that we say like, we're going to achieve, like zero emissions or whatever. And then there is also great deception with respect to greenwashing. So many companies, because they want to attract investors because of the growing demands of ESG, are providing false information or misleading information to their key investors. So this is also a growing area of concern, because as we can see, we had a case of greenwashing in 2022. This was with the German bank DWS, and a group of people, they have filed, there was a suit filed by a group of consumers on September 26th of this year, because they informed that DWS are giving a marketing material which said that there is like, they're going to invest in 0% in the coal sector, whereas on the other hand, they are saying that, fund holdings can also include companies up to 15% from the coal industry. So there is a, you can see that there is a totally contradictory report coming out here. And there was also whistleblower, Ms. Fixler, who also said that, the report for ESG that has been published in 2020, the ESG integrated report was inflated many times. It was supposed to report on 459 billion euros under ESG integrated asset management, but they also found that this number was inflated. So though she lost the case, but we can see how there is a sort of a greenwashing happening, and people providing, though they are not practicing ESG, they don't have the proper credibility for showcasing what they are doing in their organization practices. They seem to show themselves as sustainable. So we also have to take care of how this greenwashing is. So speaking all this, like we should understand, like, okay, if I'm going to have a very balanced view, should I fear if ESG will stay, or else it will just go away? ESG, though, in the future sense, it may have a change of name. Like initially we had a CSR, and now it's like, now we have ESG, and it may evolve into something more, but it is not going to go, irrespective of the criticism it is having, and the deception that some organizations are showing, and certain level of ineffectiveness. We are going to have ESG because of the study. It's because of the study, and because it is this basically ESG is driven by people who are willing to invest in certain sustainable companies. And Gen Z, the latest generation, they will spend more on companies which which hold on to ESG, that is sustainable practices, who are more ethical, rather than going for regular brand names. And then 90% of the millennials are always pursuing sustainable investment, and most of the millennials want eco-friendly products. So with so much of emissions, and all of us coming to the awareness that there is a huge climate change going on, and what we do as corporates or individuals really is impacting the place, the environment that we live in. And because we all have come to that mindset, we can see what sort of impact we have created over this planet for the last, so much decades that we have lived. So no matter what, there may be, though some factors are true here, though some people are going to scam other people in the name of ESG, sustainable development, this is going to stay, because we are moving towards sustainable development. And as long as we are thinking in terms of sustainable development, ESG will be here to stay. And then, speaking of all this, we have seen how how ESG is, and going in terms of greenwashing and all these things. There has to be someone who's to take care of all these ESG, right? Someone who needs to say that who needs to regulate ESG, and that is where we come into regulations. So because basically because of mispractices, EU and US have formalized the standards for sustainability disclosure. So EU in April 2021 they released corporate sustainability reporting directive. So CSRD, though it's released, it will actually come into effect only by 2023, and this is going to help with all your non-financial disclosure, and it is supposed to streamline all the reports, and it is also here to provide a detailed disclosure of all your ESG standards. So this is done in order to help recede the effects of greenwashing. And we can also see in the US Securities and Exchange Commission, they have also released a set of rules which were by March 22 for climate disclosure requirements. This is specifically with respect to climate disclosure, because all of us know how much President Joe Biden is very keen on climate change and the environment impact recently, and this has triggered the set of new set of rules. I think so. I presume so. And then by this end of this year, these rules are set to be adopted. If it is adopted, it would help investors make better informed decisions, and also for people who are issuing ESG, this would be really clear. It will provide them. Okay. And after this, we have to seeing what is ESG and how ESG is impacting us, and why we are discussing about ESG, and whether ESG is here to stay, and who's regulating it, and we have to see what is the next steps as an organization who's interested towards in sustainable development. So so the best thing is we have to define. For people interested in sustainable development, we have to define a ESG strategy and then move forward with the implementation. So as said in that, you can see as I have listed some steps which will help you define a strategy and move forward with your goals. So the first thing is to conduct a materiality assessment. That is you have to identify and prioritize the issues which could impact you as a business. Then second thing, you have to understand, okay, so now we have understood what is really affecting our business, or is how our business is affecting all these factors, the environment, social and governance factors, how the relationship is. And secondly, we have to understand where we are right now. So before we move forward with doing a strategy, we have to know our impact areas, and secondly, where we are right now, and thirdly, where do you see yourself, like example, suppose in 2023, 2024, what is your goal? What is your short-term, long-term goal? Both require, and then you have to set yourself an action plan, and then you have to define some key performance indicators. This is so you have to have some trackable figures for ESG, because the reason for ESG integration is that we want to measure our areas of impact in the society. So because we want to measure them, we have to identify what are the key performance indicators, and we have to, once we collect all the information available from our organization, we have to generate a report. And obviously, once we generate a report, the report is not for ourselves, but it's for public disclosure. So we can see about that later on. And then we have to go ahead and get an ESG rating. And then I have listed some sample KPIs here. Suppose if you are an oil corporation, all the thing that you would need to know is like in environment, like probably the energy use at your facility at a corporate level. So you can have many facilities. So each facility can have a different energy usage. Then what was expected of you to use and what you actually use. Was it so all these are measurable KPIs for your example. Then for waste, like how much tons of garbage are we producing? And all those things are certain metrics with which we can, really measure ESG. And then in social, you can see how our staff turnover is and their retention is, and how many customers are we retaining, how many customers we are losing, and if the customers report issues, are we escalating them and closing them properly. And in governance, you have your management training and the diversity of your management group, and then cybersecurity risk management, etc. So I'm just giving you some of the sample KPIs to help you understand. So there are key metrics in each and every area that we have to define as an organization in order to actually take the strategy and then implement it and see where we are at and where we want to go. And this is the next steps that we can do. So as said, we have to set goals, and with goal setting comes the budget. And then we also have to identify who's the core team, and what is the framework that we want to use. Do you want to go with SASB? Do you want to go with GRI? Do you want to go with TCRD? So you have to choose what is the framework, and select the framework that is right for your specific organization. For APA, it may be something else. For you, it may be something else. And then we have to especially we have to have a core team who will collect and gather and have us get this data importantly. So in each and every department, we have to have a stakeholder. Once that is done, then we can go ahead with identifying the framework, and then we have to periodically monitor, and then you have to publish the reports. And then, so what's our next steps? What's the best way to get ahead in terms of sustainability development as we integrate ESG, as we have a strategy and implement it? So if as APA I say that I'm going to deliver something to you, then I need to deliver what I promised. So that's the best way to get ahead. Then we have honesty and disclosure. So we saw how we're going to collect the data and who are going to be involved and what information we are going to get from them, and then how we are going to report. But there is also disclosure. So the disclosure is for public information or any customers who may request that information from you. So we have to be very honest in the disclosure. There may be some gray areas which we, though we know the information which we, though it is mandatory, we may not be willing to give that information out to public, but we have to be honest in disclosure, and because that is going to give them a greater level of transparency moving forward. So we are setting the course of loyalty with any people who are going to work with. And if you don't know something, any information regarding, like if you have key KPIs for energy and you don't know what is happening there, please don't disclose that. It is, there are many companies who are coming to voluntary disclosure of the reporting. Some are mandatory, some metrics may be mandatory, but not all. And if yours doesn't fall within the mandatory, and you are having a voluntary information which is really not going to help anybody, and you don't know what is happening there for sure, please don't report it. So, and let us not provide any sort of misleading information which could end up in greenwashing, because we are liable at the end of the day. We have to be, all of us are liable for the information that we provide, and so many people can just come and sue us then and there for what information we are providing there. So, and finally, once we've gotten the report and published it, so we have to tell our story. For example, APA was using 100 gallons of water in such and such a time. Now we are making sure that we are using only 50 gallons. And so how have you improved, or what are the what have you done in order to improve a part of this ESG governance? So you have to tell it along with your stories, and then have someone interview you, give you a press conference, and say that you are actually moving into ESG implementation. So, and what should we be really anticipating in the future? So they will, you're going to have a lot of evolving regulations, because ESG is not defined by a set of rigid standards. So we can expect evolving regulations, and there are going to be mandatory disclosures. And then with better set of regulations and mandatory disclosures, we are going to see a receding in greenwashing, and then we will have a better ESG rating. And also we can see that not only US and many other companies, I mean many other countries would have climate change as ESG inverse topmost priority. And so the next thing is like a royal peak into Ecogen. That is, Ecogen is a software. So we have come up with a tool to automate this entire ESG process. That is to make your life simple, rather than having data done in Excel sheets and having. We have put in our efforts to actually come up with a software that will do what is required of us. And this is some of the screenshots, and I would hand over the session to Mr. Manohar.
Thank you, Ranjani. Hello, everyone. I'm Manokran. I'm the architect of this software. Okay. Okay. So to just brief you about why we started building this software, there are quite a few softwares available in the market, but most of them focus towards either GRI or TCFD or SASB. So each software is dovetailed to a particular standard. So we thought it is better to have a software where the data collection part is separated from the reporting reporting standard, so that we have when we after we collect data in the format we have designed, it is possible to generate reports either in TCFD format or SASB or according to GRI standards. So I'll just briefly walk you through the right now we have configured some data for this is all just hypothetical data which we have entered. So we have all the surveys that is being conducted will be listed on the left hand side menu, and we have only one right now, so I will click on that. Okay. So here for now we have just entered data for the environmental and climate related standards. We are still in the process of entering data for the other governance and sustainability standards. So right now, but this actually gives you an idea of the entire capability of the software. So I click on emissions and carbon GHG. So we have these are the different categories of metrics which are required by all the standards. So when we click on one of that, we see the actual breakup of each metrics that all the standards require company to report on. So and by default, the last 3 years of there will be fields available for you to enter the last 3 years of data. It is configurable. Suppose you want to enter more years of data, you can do that, or if you want to report only for this year's data, you can also do that. It is configurable in the backend. And you enter all the data here, and when you click save, this gets saved in the database. And you can also upload files which you want to want to be used as evidence of your reporting, then that is also possible. So eventually, after you have filled up, okay, these are all the different other metrics which you have added for emissions category, and the number of trees you have planted, such kind of data. These are all picked up from the different standards available in the reporting standards available. And it is also possible for, apart from the primary survey, at least GRI requires company to report on related entities also, like your different manufacturing sites. They might require a different kind of material topics to report on. And it is possible that you have a packaging site which requires a totally different metric, different list of metrics to report on. So it is possible to have sub surveys in a survey where depending on your vendors and suppliers, you can have different surveys designed specifically for their requirements. And after you have filled up everything, so once you have filled up everything, you can click on this download report. Right now, we have just configured one report layout, but eventually we will have different reports for the different, like one for GRI, one for TCFD and one for SASP and the different standards available. So right now we have configured a generic one which will download a report in PDF format. Yeah. So the report this contains all the data which which was shown in the previous screen. So the reports also display a graphical view of the data entered. So you also so each color refers to one particular year. So it is also it is possible for anyone who goes through this report to get to derive intelligence out of it. Rather than just looking at tables, they'll be able to look at it graphically. So that's the entire part, and we are in the process of actually building a dashboard where Ranjani talked about the different KPIs that we have come up with. So there will be a dashboard which shows you for each of these KPIs how we have performed over the years. So it is possible for you to see how you keep improving your processes.
Now, having seen the software that we have come up with, I would just recap whatever we've seen for the day, and then we saw what is ESG. We had a bit of exploring into ESG, then the reasons for our discussion and how why ESG is becoming important and relevant to us today, and the main reason behind the ESG awareness is focusing towards the sustainable goals, and then we saw about greenwashing, and also the fact if ESG is here to stay or else it's going to go away. And despite seeing many deceptions and certain areas where ESG can be not that effective, and then people scamming us, saying that they are a part of they are ESG credible. So ESG is going to stay, and then we saw how EU and US are taking the next steps to come up with rigid regulations to make ESG should we do next, and how to move forward, how to implement the ESG strategy and what not to do. And then we saw in a very short slide what we should be anticipating in the future. And then we also saw about inclusion. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it, and looking forward to the next session and also queries from all of you. Thank you.